just gotta wait.
I don't know where Josh is. Is Josh here somewhere?
I haven't seen him.
Is he coming? He said he was. You want to plug him in? All right. So we're going to plug Josh in. Okay. Come on nice and close, everybody.
How you doing today? I'm good. You're dressed better than I am. That's for smarter, right?
You guys ready? You guys all ready? We on here? Everyone ready? We're going to... Josh Gottheimer is my co-sponsor. He's not here yet, but we're going to go ahead and just kind of insert him here. Just want to say good morning. I'm Claudia Tenney from New York's 24th Congressional District. I want to thank all the media, all the members in this very bipartisan exercise to show our support. And I want to just thank you for your solidarity, my colleagues behind me, for the courageous Iranian people who are standing up and speaking out against this regime's brutal human rights abuses. I want to especially thank human rights activist Nazanin Boniadi today, right here, for joining us. Many of you know Ms. Boniadi from her starring roles in film and television, including the hit TV shows General Hospital and How I Met Your Mother. But she has taken on a greater cause here. But what some of you may not know is she is also a tireless and compassionate advocate for the Iranian people. Nazanin was born in Iran shortly after the revolution. A month after her birth, her family moved to the United Kingdom, where she spent her childhood. Despite having tremendous success professionally, Nazanin has never forgotten those who remained in Iran. Throughout her career, she has used her voice to give power to those who sadly have not had one for many decades, the women of Iran. We are here this morning to bring attention to their heroic stand against the regime in Tehran. And I thank Nazanin for joining us. Almost 4.5 months ago, the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, Iranian men, women, and children continue to protest with the regime and its cruelty, despite the immense risks to themselves and their families. The regime has responded with brute force and absolute violence. Hundreds of peaceful protesters have been killed by the regime's security forces. Thousands more have been detained on trumped-up charges, and many of those in custody, especially women, have been subjected to cruel and inhumane torture. The regime has also unjustly executed Iranian protesters in sham trials that lack any modicum of due process. Many dozens more Iranians face the imminent possibility of execution for their bravery. But the courageous Iranian people are not backing down. In fact, they are more resolved than ever. They are demanding a government that respects their rights at home, stops funding terrorism abroad, and makes peace with its neighbors. They are demanding a future built on freedom, justice, and prosperity. And we stand with them, all of us here today, and over 60 members on our resolution. Just this week, the House of Representatives passed our bipartisan concurrent resolution condemning the Iranian regime for its gross human rights abuses against protesters in Iran. It further commends the people of Iran for remaining true to the cause of freedom against all odds. I want to thank my Democratic colleague, Mr. Gottheimer, House Foreign Affairs Committee Chair Michael McCall, there he is, for their support of our resolution, and to our ranking member Gregory Meeks for his continued support throughout this last year and into this year as well. This resolution does more than condemn the regime and commend the people and commend the people of Iran. It is also a clear call to action. It urges the Biden administration to meet the moment and do everything in its power to stand with the Iranian people. The United States must sanction those responsible for these brutal killings. We must also do more to counter the Iranian regime's attempts to restrict internet access, to stop its citizens from sharing images, videos of abuses, and communications to the outside world. We have the power to give the Iranian people the voice they need to tell the truth about their oppression at the hands of the Ayatollah, and we must exercise it. Finally, we must lead this effort to press our allies and partners around the world to designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization, which it is. The United States rightly designated the group as a foreign terrorist organization in 2019. Now the world must join us in this noble cause. The IRGC reign of terror must come to an end. With an almost unanimous passage this week, except one notable person, 420 votes to 1, the House of Representatives said loudly and clearly with a strong bipartisan voice that the American people are on the side of the Iranian people. I implore the Senate to quickly take this up, pass this concurrent resolution. It's a bipartisan bill also in the Senate, and join us, the House of Representatives, in our steadfast support of the Iranian people. And to the people of Iran, from all of us, we commend your bravery. We mourn your losses. The American people are with you as you stand up for freedom. And now I'd like to introduce my great colleague from New Jersey, representing my family, actually, in Bergen County. But thank you so much, the Honorable Josh Gottheimer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for helping.
Love how a New Yorker says great Jersey. You like that? It doesn't happen that often.
I'll get used to it.
I know. I want Lawler. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you so much for your leadership here. Thank you to Foreign Affairs Chairman McCall for his phenomenal leadership on this legislation. To all of our colleagues who are here today. This week, the House demonstrated, as you heard, in a massive, sweeping display of bipartisanship, that we will not stand for the oppressive Iranian regime and its countless human rights abuses, and that we stand with the brave people of Iran as they fight back against terror. I applaud the Congresswoman for her leadership on this critical resolution, as well as House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman for leading it with us. I applaud the 420 members of Congress who stood solidly together to pass this legislation this week. I also want to applaud Nazanin Boniadi, who escaped Iran with her family following the 1979 Islamic Revolution. She's bringing much-needed attention to and speaking out against the human rights atrocities committed by the regime. Let's be clear, Iran is the leading state sponsor of terror and a dictatorial government. Iran is continuing to enrich uranium to weapons-grade levels to produce a nuclear weapon. They are an oppressive regime. The IRGC, the Iran's paramilitary terror arm, has directly or through their proxies, including Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Jihad, killed hundreds of Americans and attacked our bases and our allies in the region. Their aggression is an American issue. The Iran, as you've heard, through the IRGC, is even designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Not only are they a threat to the United States and our key allies, including Israel, they are a threat to their own people, women and children. The killing Mahsa Amini at the hands of Iran's so-called morality police has spurred nothing short of a revolution. Now hundreds of protesters rightfully are speaking out against the regime's human rights, and many have been killed by their own security forces. Thousands have been detained, many of those in custody, including women, suffering cruel torture. And now we're hearing of more and more executions of political prisoners behind bars and facing the death penalty merely for speaking out, something that we too often take for granted in our great country, with the Capitol behind us. As defenders of democracy, as defenders of civil liberties, as a leader around the globe on human rights, our country stands with the brave people of Iran as they fight back against the Iranian regime. And with this bipartisan resolution, we're making it clear that we support these brave individuals committed to freedom and human rights in Iran and around the world. And I'm very pleased that just yesterday, Senate Foreign Relations Ranking Member Bob Menendez, our senior senator, and Chairman Jim Risch introduced a bipartisan companion resolution on this very issue. Both chambers must now come together and pass this resolution and stand up for human rights. By working together in our great country with other great countries and democracies and freedom, we will stand strong against all those who try to keep people down for speaking out. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Great job, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now it's my great honor to hear from our next speaker. Nazanin Boniadi, she is just a tremendous advocate for the Iranian people, and we are so honored to have you here. And we would love to hear some kind words from you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you at the Capitol building, a timeless symbol of exactly the representative democracy the Iranian people are fighting and dying for as we speak. I applaud the efforts of members of Congress, especially Representatives Tenney and Gottheimer and Chairman McCall, for introducing this resolution, commending the bravery, courage and resolve of the people of Iran for continuing their demonstrations, calling for fundamental political change and the peaceful transition to a secular democracy, despite the risk of being imprisoned, tortured, raped and killed. Statements of support matter, and such resolutions are necessary. This helps motivate our brothers and sisters in Iran and shows that we see them, we hear them, we share their values, and we admire their resilience. This is why your bipartisan solidarity with the Iranian people's democratic aspirations is so important. However, additional action is needed to hold the Islamic Republic officials and agents to account for their human rights abuses and brutality. The brave demonstrators are calling for justice and dignity, and that's impossible without accountability. To that end, punitive actions against perpetrators are also required, and I know several members here have introduced measures calling for visa bans, asset seizures, and targeted sanctions. Beyond such measures, there's much work to be done. And the work of a legislative body is deliberative by nature, but this resolution passing so early in a new Congress and with such overwhelming bipartisan support is an incredible, powerful signal that the Iranian people can soon also expect not just solidarity, but maximum support for their just cause. Iranians, like freedom-seeking people the world over, often look to democracies for inspiration. I hope we can soon share with the people of Iran that in their movement to reclaim their country, they have Americans from all political persuasions standing by their side. Thank you for standing with us. Thank you so much.
Next, it's my honor to introduce the representative from South Carolina, Joe Wilson, from the Foreign Affairs Committee.
And ladies and gentlemen and friends of the people of Iran, we're here today with a remarkable show of bipartisanship. Over 99%, can you imagine, of members of Congress voted to support the people of Iran and to thank the very brave demonstrators and protesters who are standing up for freedom and democracy. And gosh, what a fabulous example here today. This is truly part of a worldwide competition, sadly, and that is we have competition between democracies that promote rule of law, and then we have authoritarian states that promote rule of gun. And so the young people, the people of Iran, are in the forefront of standing up for freedom and democracy. God bless the people of Iran.
Thank you so much, Joe. Next, we'll have Representative Katie Porter from California. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Congresswoman Katie Porter, and I am proud to represent a vibrant Iranian diaspora community in Orange County, as well as the University of California, Irvine, where Nazanin Boniadi was an undergraduate. I stand with the Iranian people in their fight for freedom, and this week's resolution makes clear the United States Congress stands with the people of Iran as well. We condemn the Iranian regime's restrictions of basic freedoms and its crackdowns on critics demanding change. I will continue to hold them accountable, and the U.S. Congress must do so as well. I push to remove Iran from the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, which the Biden administration followed through on after advocacy. I spoke up for tightening sanctions after reports that the regime is sentencing demonstrators to death. And I led Democrats and Republicans' bipartisan effort to call on social media companies to protect the free speech of protesters, a key tool for exposing the brutality of the regime. I will keep supporting the people of Iran in their fight for fundamental freedoms. Woman, life, freedom. It is incumbent upon us to uplift that chant and understand that it is more than a slogan, it is a call for action. Thank you so much.
Next, Representative Michelle Steele from California.
Thank you, Representative Tenney and Gottheimer, for your leadership for this bipartisan resolution. Freedom is not free. No one understands that hard truth more than Iranian women who are fighting for their basic rights against brutal dictatorship. The evil regime tortures and kills its own citizens to maintain control over its people, especially women, who are leading this revolution in an incredible show of strength. My parents fled a communist dictatorship in North Korea in search of freedom. I assure you, freedom is worth any cost. To Iranian people, the United States is behind you. Keep up your fight for freedom against tyranny. Thank you.
Next, Representative Ami Bera from California.
Thank you. I'm Congressman Ami Bera, and I represent Sacramento County in Northern California. I want to applaud Congressman Gottheimer and Congresswoman Tenney for their leadership here, but I'm proud to stand here with my colleagues in Congress, Democrats and Republicans to send a message to the people of Iran that we stand with you, to the women of Iran that we stand with you. Our own history in the United States and our revolution was one that was born out of fighting for justice, for freedom, for our own voice. You are going to prevail much as the United States prevailed over 200 years ago. We, the Congress of the United States, the people of the United States, stand with you, and we will win this together. God bless the United States, and God bless the people and the women of Iran. Be well.
Thank you. Sweet stuff. Yeah. Our next representative, Doug Lamborn from Colorado.
Thank you to Congresswoman Tenney and Congressman Gottheimer for bringing us together in support of the Iranian people. My name is Doug Lamborn. I represent Colorado's 5th District. I am honored that we are joined by a leading advocate for democracy and human rights in Iran, Ms. Nazanin Boniadi. The Iranian regime denies their people basic rights and liberties and brutally tortures those who object. Following the murder of Mahsa Amini, the people of Iran spoke. They are condemning the brutally repressive actions of the Iranian regime, most notably the Ayatollah's morality police. The people of Iran demand change, and we stand with them. I encourage President Biden to respond to their calls for help, and I commend the women and men of Iran standing up for their God-given rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doug. Representative Angie Craig from Minnesota.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Angie Craig, and I represent Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District. Thank you so much to Congresswoman Tenney and Congressman Gottheimer for leading this really important bipartisan resolution, and to everyone for joining today. We know just how fragile democracy is, but it is so critically important. That's why this week I was honored to join Democrats and Republicans as we reaffirm that the United States Congress supports the Iranian people in their ongoing struggle to bring lasting democracy and change to their country. With this resolution, my colleagues and I have made it abundantly clear that we stand with the people of Iran, and we will do everything in our power to hold the oppressive Iranian regime accountable for their crimes. To all the brave Iranians fighting for their freedoms, please know that my colleagues and I are inspired by your steadfast struggle for freedom. Witnessing your courage, determination, and optimism makes me certain that a free and democratic Iran is near. Thank you so much, and with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague from New York, Congressman Mike Lawler.
Thank you.
Good morning. As mentioned, I'm Congressman Mike Lawler, representing New York's 17th District. I want to thank my fellow New Yorker, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, my neighbor just south, Congressman Josh Gottheimer, and Chairman McCall. I am proud to be a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and serve with the chairman, and I want to thank the three of them for bringing this resolution forward. Today, we stand here as a bipartisan group to make it absolutely clear that the Iranian people have our full support, and that we speak with one voice in opposition to the regime and their continued reign of terror on the people of Iran. I was proud to join my colleagues, over 60 of us who co-sponsored this, over 99% of our colleagues voting in support of this. But this is a first step. The world must join together and condemn the Iranian regime for its brutal campaign against its own citizens. It is appalling and tragic, and it demonstrates a clear opposition to the most basic human rights on the part of the regime. And perhaps most galling are the ongoing crackdowns against the women of Iran, who have been oppressed for decades by the Ayatollah and his fanatical supporters. Simply for going outside without a headdress, they face savage beatings and even death. This cannot stand. We must continue to fight for justice and freedom all across the globe, and ensure that the lives that have been lost in this same fight did not do so in vain. So I thank everybody for coming today and introduce Representative Susie Lee.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Congresswoman Susie Lee. I represent Nevada's 3rd District. I want to thank Congresswoman Tenney, Congressman Gottheimer for leading this resolution. And I want to honor Nazanin Boniadi for using the power of her celebrity to shine a light on this horrific cause. Women, life, freedom. That is the chant that echoes through the streets of Iran. And it is the chant that the Iranian regime has met with violence, brutality, and murder. These fundamental values are enshrined in our democracy, and today we all stand across political parties to show our support overseas for the bravery, the courage, and the resolve of the Iranian women and men who are speaking out. Recently, I had the opportunity to meet in southern Nevada with our Persian community and the Iranian American Chamber of Commerce. And the fear is real and resonant. These family members are frightened that amidst Tehran's effort to cut off communication online through social media and other chat functions, they're frightened that today may be the last day that they hear from their loved ones. And after hundreds of brutal murders and thousands of unjust arrests, the Iranian government has made crystal clear that they do not stand for freedom. But we have demonstrated here in the House of Representatives, both Democrats and Republicans, that we do. And we stand with those who are raising their voices against oppression. We cannot and will not turn a blind eye to those gross human rights abuses. And with that, I thank you, and now turn it over to Representative Rich McCormick.
I'm Dr. Rich McCormick, Congressman from Georgia 6th. We have a proud and bold Iranian population in our district. I'm a guy who spent over 20 years in the military in about 50 different countries, some of them very bad places. And one thing that's universal is that about 10% of the people who have guns create problem for the other 90% of the people who are just trying to make it to the next generation. In Iran, we have a serious consequence of that, where we have a theocracy that's oppressive. Not just oppressive, but killing people for what they wear. What is America if it doesn't stand for freedom? It's not just up to one celebrity, one politician, one news agency to stand up for what's right, but in America, its whole population. Everybody, whether they be Democrat or Republican, we should call on the entire world to call out against these egregious, outrageous, oppressive things that they're doing against women in Iran. And so I'm very proudly standing here in a bipartisan effort to call on every single American, every single politician, and even the media to play its role in speaking out against these crimes. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Representative Kathy Manning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Kathy Manning. I represent North Carolina's 6th Congressional District. And I'd like to start by thanking my colleagues, Congresswoman Tenney and Congressman Gottheimer, for leading this important resolution. Fundamental rights are under attack in Iran. It's been nearly 4 months since the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in the custody of Iran's so-called morality police for allegedly wearing her headscarf incorrectly. And since then, thousands of Iranians have peacefully protested the regime, calling for their basic rights and freedoms to be respected. In response to these demonstrations, Iran's security forces have reportedly used live ammunition and tear gas against protesters and killed more than 300 people, including at least 40 children. It's clear that Iran has no problem sentencing their own people to death for joining demonstrations, and the regime is willing to do almost anything to maintain control. The United States must stand unified against the oppressive Iranian regime and stand up for the Iranian people, whose basic human rights are being violated. The Iranian people deserve justice and accountability. That's why I was proud to vote for the resolution calling out Iran's human rights abuses. It makes clear that the United States stands with the people of Iran, that we are watching closely, and that all Iranians, including young women and girls, are entitled to the same human rights and fundamental freedoms as people all around the world. In addition to supporting this resolution, I recently led a bipartisan letter with my friend and colleague Joe Wilson, calling for the United Nations to take urgent action to hold Iran accountable for its human rights abuses. And following our bipartisan effort, I was glad that the United States and 43 other countries supported our call for a UN special session on Iran. And at that session, the UN Human Rights Council voted to establish an independent investigative mechanism into Iran's brutal use of force and grave human rights abuses. We must continue speaking out against the human rights abuses taking place in Iran and supporting the women and girls who are leading the fight for their rights. Thank you. Next I call up Kevin Kiley.
Thank you, Kevin, our newest member here.
Good morning. In recent months, we have all been inspired by those who believe in a free Iran and who are taking action at such great cost to make it a reality. In equal measure, we have been appalled by the brutality of a regime that has no regard for its own people, no regard for basic human decency, no regard for the very foundation of our modern world: freedom, democracy, and human rights. It is so important that we stand united as we are today on a strong bipartisan basis, Democrat and Republican, in supporting the bravery, heroism, and resolve of the people of Iran, and in condemning the abuses of this regime. And it is so important that we, the United States, do not do anything to embolden this regime in its capacity to threaten its own people and to wreak havoc in the Middle East and around the world. I want to thank everyone in the amazing Iranian American community in my district, across California, and across this country who have been in contact with my office. I know these have been very trying times, fearful times, but also hopeful times. And my promise to you is I will do everything I can to tilt the pendulum in the direction of hope, and that I will always stand with those who are on the side of freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Sheila Jackson Lee, the representative from Texas. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Tenney and Congressman Gottheimer, and all of my colleagues that are here. It looks like these are all battle-worn fighters for democracy. And I say that because battle-worn means that you are never going to stop. We stand here today with the Iranian Americans and the people in the streets, men and women, who need to hear our voices, that we will not be in any way daunted by the actions of this horrible regime. And so this legislation says that Iran should be free from all oppressors. Iran should be democratic. Iran should be able to honor young women. Iran should not be the killer of human beings and the killer of human rights and democracy. This legislation, I believe, is a sharp presence to indicate that we will take no tomfoolery from Iran. We're not engaged with Iran to make that regime sound as if it is legitimate. And we will expose all of the murderous actions that Iran has engaged in. Yes, we collectively stand for democracy. And the Persian people have a great and wonderful history. This is not a condemnation of them or their wonderful history. It is to take them to the idea of their higher ideals. I am gratified to stand with the members of Congress who have joined in the legislation that was passed enthusiastically on the floor. I hope that we will move quickly to the United States Senate, and I hope this bill will be a standard bearer for the messages of the United States of America. I feel emboldened to be able to be aligned with these brave men and women. But I do want to say to them that the fight is not over. We know how devastating it is. We know the loss of life. But it is extremely important that we adhere to the points of democracy. There's a 10-point list of democratic ideals that have been put forward. And I just want to say that our voice can be the voice of reason. It should be unceasing. It should be bold. And we should be battle-worn warriors that are not tired, but are continuous in our fight for democracy. My faith as I leave this podium is that the Iranian people will prevail. They will prevail. And they will live in a peaceful and engaged and world leader that leads with democracy and respect for human life and human rights. I see that. I stand with Iranians, Iranian Americans, and the people on the battlefield dying to fight in their own country. I stand with them.
Thank you so much. I just want to especially thank everyone for coming here, the media. I am so grateful for my colleagues for supporting this in such a bipartisan, unanimous support, nearly. And I want to say thank you to Nazanin for your just tremendous work and for having the courage to stand up. And this is really, all of us are so grateful to the women of Iran and the freedom fighters and what they're doing. This is really about the women of Iran standing up and demanding freedom, democracy, and rights, not just for themselves, but for the entire region and our world. And we are just all so grateful, and I'm so grateful to my colleagues for their wonderful remarks. And we just appreciate your support and your coming out and recognizing this and giving a voice to the Iranian people. We are grateful. Thanks so much. That concludes the press conference. You want to do one photo? Or, do you want to say anything, John?
That's great. You were great. Thanks.
You want to do a photo? You want to stand by?
Stand over here.
Yeah, that's good over there, because that the podium's on the way.
The collective. Yeah, the collective.
Lift it up.
It's out a little bit.
So the guy in the red coat, let's look at him first.
He's here.
Senior guy? Yes. Here's the real camera.
Here. Yeah, all right, thank you. All right, thanks.
Wonderful job.
What are they doing?
Thank you so much for your beautiful job.
I could find it, but yeah, I went to wave, so you don't have to wave. Can we get a picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it.
His mom really wanted to make sure you got a picture.
Yes,
We'll make sure we'll get staff send it out.
We'll get it together. God bless. Thank you.
All right, good.
Good to be with you. You don't have any
Not today. Not today.
Okay, man, this would be funny. I get up here and he got this in my bag.
He gave me one
It was in
too.
here. Joe Wilson. He got his business card in there. It was so funny. You must be freezing. I'm the only one that wore my coat.
I wore a coat.
You and I wore a coat, and Josh. The people that are from up north. We wore the coats. What? Yeah, we make sure we protect her from whoever. He's got her. Yeah, she's got somebody. Just don't want to leave her on her own. Oh, okay.
I'll just walk with you. I'll walk with you.
Yeah, can we just do what we just want to do a team Tenney photo?
Yes.
Thank you. Our team.
Should I take a selfie?
No, don't worry. Please, be warm. No, don't worry. It's cold.
We want your.
Thank you.
We love the coat. We want your beautiful
Okay.
face. Just these guys all work so hard. So
I'll go to the other side.
Well, who's going to take it?
come on.
Here, I'll take it.
Mr. Lawler can take it. He knows how.
Once the staff arose.
Thank you so much.
Great.
I appreciate you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Congresswoman.
Let's see. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see. Let's keep. We'll know how to reach out to you. Thanks so much. Good to see you. Thank you.
Great job.
Appreciate it. Good job. Thank you. You take a look at that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.